Test. I'm inviting all the legislators to join us in the chambers so that we can get started. legislators, please take your seats and we'll get started. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please have you take your seats. We are going to start the legislative session now. I'm going to ask Legislator Bill Gaylord to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, if everyone would please rise, place your hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance by saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for several reasons. First, today is National Holocaust Remembrance Day, which signifies the anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi concentration camps and the end of the Holocaust. So we keep all those victims in our thoughts and prayers, their families as well. We'd like to have a moment of silence as well for the loss of Kobe Bryant and his daughter and all the victims of that tragic helicopter crash, and for Thomas Valver, the young boy in Suffolk County who lost his life last week. Okay, and just to add one more, also to our colleague Deborah Muley, who's lost her father last week. Thank you very much. We had our condolences, legislator. We hope for all the best and pray for your family. Thank you. All right. Before we start our regular meeting, we have one of our members has to be sworn in as a legislator. So. I don't know if do we need a vote on this, everybody? But Legislator Drucker could not join us last week, so it's important that he formally take the oath of office, and we have with us a distinguished visitor, Assemblyman Chuck Levine, to do the honors. Let me get out of the way, actually.
I think we're okay. Thank you, Presiding Officer Nicolello, and good to see you, and good to see everyone else here today. And Arnie, my friend, thank you for the invitation to permit me the great honor of swearing you in. I'm lucky to have you as a friend, and I am very proud of what you have done. But Franny and your son Daniel, who are here today, Noah, who is here today, are much, much prouder, and that's as it should be. So if you will be so kind as to place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I
I,
Arnold Drucker,
Arnold Drucker,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the constitutions of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Charter and laws of Nassau County,
and the Charter and laws of Nassau County,
and to discharge the duties of the office
and to discharge the duties of the office
of Nassau County Legislator
of Nassau County Legislator
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God. So help me God.
It is now my great honor to declare you duly installed as a member of the Nassau County Legislature. Thank you.
All right. Legislator Rhodes told me he makes a motion to table. Is that true? Mike, could you please call the roll?
Thank you. A roll call. Deputy Presiding Officer Howard Copel. Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Denise Ford. Thank you. Legislator Sheila Bino. Legislator Carrier Salage. Legislator Deborah Muley. Legislator C. William Gaylor III. He is here. Legislator Vincent Muscarella. Thank you. Legislator Ellen Birnbaum. Legislator Delia DeRicci Witten. Legislator James Kennedy. Legislator Thomas McKevitt.
Here.
Legislator Laura Schaefer. Legislator John Ferretti.
Here.
Legislator Arnold Drucker. Okay. Legislator Rosemarie Walker. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Josh is not with us today. Sorry? Okay, thank you. Legislator Stephen Rhodes. Minority Leader Kavan Abrahams. Thank you. And Presiding Officer Richard Nicolello. Thank you, Richie.
Thank you. Before we start the business portion of our meeting, we have, as we always have on at our legislative meetings, we have our top cop presentations, after which we'll have a period for public comment and then the business of the legislature. At this point, I would like to invite up James McDermott, President of the Nassau County PBA.
Once again, I want to thank everyone for having the legislative top cops again. This is legislative top cops for January 2020. It's First Precinct Police Officers Melanie Matassa and Emily Slack. On December 21st, 2019, at approximately 3:30 a.m., a resident was waiting in his vehicle at the Wantor train station when a male subject approached the resident and displayed a handgun, threatened the victim, and fled with the victim's wallet, cell phone, and vehicle. On January 2nd, the same male, armed with a handgun, threatened a second victim in a parking lot in Belmore, forcing the victim to exit his vehicle at gunpoint. The subject then demanded the victim's wallet and cell phone. The subject then fled in the victim's vehicle. During a canvass for the subject, Police Officer Matassa located the subject in the back streets of Belmore. Officer Matassa attempted to conduct a VTL stop, at which time the subject fled. Officer Matassa then made a radio notification advising the other officers of the subject's direction of flight. Within moments of hearing the notification, Police Officer Slack observed the said vehicle. Once Officer Slack attempted to stop the vehicle, the subject then lost control and crashed. Police Officer Slack swiftly exited her vehicle and engaged the subject, who was violently resisting arrest. Officer Slack, with the assistance of other First Precinct police officers, was able to eventually subdue and handcuff the subject. The subject was charged with 4 counts of robbery, criminal possession of a weapon, assault second degree, and resisting arrest. This arrest led to 2 other robbery cases being closed out. Due to their vigilance and bravery, Officers Matassa and Slack were able to apprehend a dangerous criminal and take him off the streets. Because of this, we are proud to name them as Legislative Top Cops for January 2020. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As many of you know, I live in Wantagh, and one of those robberies was outside of Mulcahy's. And my son, was working there that evening when it happened. He just walked out the door 10 minutes before the robbery went down. He could have been that victim. The work that they do, the bravery that they've shown, the chase that went the wrong side on the parkway, and we had one of our officers involved in an accident, injuries that occurred. It goes to show you the bravery of the men and women of the Nassau County Police Department, and I emphasize the word women as you're standing to the 2 bravest I've seen so far. I got into a foot chase several months back, and as I'm running through a yard, going fence to fence, this young officer was standing side by side and going over those fences with me. So I'm proud of both of them. I commend them, and I thank you again for your support that you give them. Thank you.
I just want to say on behalf of myself, Officer Slack, and the Fighting First Precinct, I just want to say thank you for acknowledging our great efforts tonight to the county legislature, the PBA, President McDermott, Commissioner Ryder. Thank you. I'm very proud to wear this uniform.
Commissioner Ryder, I find it a little bit difficult to believe that you were keeping up with the young officers. But
I had a struggle.
Legislator Rhodes.
I will also say that that the opportunity to capture you jumping over fences it probably is the single best argument I've heard for body cameras. Just kidding. But even though I'm the legislator for the Wantagh and Belmore area, I know that I speak on behalf of every single legislator when I tell you, Officer Matassa and Officer Slack, how proud we are of your efforts on that evening. You know, as a resident of Belmore, one of our greatest fears is that there's somebody out there with a weapon. One of the greatest fears that anybody has anywhere, that there's somewhere out there with a weapon who's looking to do harm, and in this case actually did. And you know, we always speak about the dedication and bravery of our police officers, and what you did was emblematic of that. You know, how they put their lives, how you put your lives on the line, knowing the risk every single day at a moment's notice. You're willing to take that risk to make sure that we're protected as residents. And you knew full well what that individual, those individuals, were capable of. You knew in all likelihood that they were armed, but you decided to intercept them anyway, to recognize, to intercept, to pursue, and ultimately to capture and take that criminal off the streets. And we are so very proud and thankful, proud of you and thankful for you and all the members of the Nassau County Police Department for what you do every day to keep us safe. And I can actually say, and it was my question to Commissioner Ryder, that this particular criminal, I'm happy to report, actually was kept in custody on bail, which seems to be a rarity nowadays. But thank you so much for everything that you've done for us, and thank you to all of Nassau County's police officers for what you do for us every day. Congratulations, and God bless you.
I'll invite you up to take a presentation of the, with the legislators in a moment, but we're going to have the SOA and DAI come on. Okay, the next presentation is actually a combined presentation of our leaders of our Detectives Association, Inc. and superior officers. We have President John Wighouse and President Kevin Black.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank the members of the legislature for, on a monthly basis, honoring the members of the Nassau County Police Department. The case I'm here to talk about is Detective Sergeant Scott Bertini of the Nassau County Narcotics Bureau, as well as the Long Island Heroin Task Force. This case started in April of 2019 when members of the task force were able to secure a
confidential informant who was able to purchase heroin from a dealer in Brooklyn who apparently had a major customer base in Nassau County. And among those were several overdoses. From April through June, the LIHTF, the task force, I'm just going to say task force because I get tongue-tied, was able to secure several controlled buys into the target. The buys took place in Howard Beach, but the information was that he was also dealing in East New York and Nassau County. The case was conferenced with the Nassau County District Attorneys. It was determined the best investigative tool to use was to use a Title III telephone intercept. On July 26th of last year, they began their investigation using the telephone intercept. Throughout the investigation, 18 customers/redistributors were arrested during the investigation. They secured additional information and identified approximately 55 customers who were both users and redistributors. It was determined to take down the subjects, the main targets, on December 13th. They had indictments, arrest warrants for 14 individuals, search warrants for 13 locations and 3 vehicles. Careful planning was needed to orchestrate this type of operation, and the 2 main targets were at separate locations, which made it even more difficult. At the end of the day, all the main targets were in custody, plus 6 others that were charged with conspiracy. Over 5 kilograms of heroin and $1.4 million in U.S. currency were seized. 4 people arrested, including 1 from Nassau, were charged with A1 felonies, the highest drug felony you can give a trafficker. The district attorney is calling this the largest heroin seizure in Nassau County history. I want to point out that the task force has members of the DAI who work in the narcotics unit under Detective Sergeant Bertini, as well as members of the Suffolk County Police Department, the state police, and in this case, because of the overall scope of it, federal authorities were used. So this is definitely an exceptional example of interagency cooperation. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank the full legislative body for recognizing our detectives today, but due to the sensitive nature of their assignment, they can't be here today to accept the award. We don't let them come out in public forums taking pictures, obviously. But like Kevin just said, you heard the work that these detectives are doing out there, and unfortunately, or fortunately, you only hear about 10% of the work that is done in the Narcotics Bureau. Because of the assignments that are done, they aren't in the newspaper or they aren't on the TV. So I thank you again for honoring them, but they can't be here today, so thanks again.
Two years ago, we started the Long Island Heroin Task Force, and we started that under Operation Natalie. The first year in their existence, we reduced overdoses by 25%. Last year, another 10%. Our overdose death numbers are also going down again this year, which we won't see until finalized by the ME. But it's, again, the dedication and the hard work, cooperating with other agencies, the coordination that goes on. Scott Bettini and his guys do an outstanding job, and that's why there are more kids alive today than there were 2 years ago because of the overdoses. So, again, I want to thank them for their dedicated work, and we'll keep Operation Natalie going. Thank you.
Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Ford.
On behalf of the legislature, I want to thank you for your persistence and great detective work with helping to rid our neighborhoods of these deadly drugs and the rest of these traffickers and dealers. And all of this, obviously, in less than a year. So, I mean, unbelievably great police work, I have to say, in collaboration. And this is a result, actually, of the experience of our officers and their superiors. And we are blessed to have you putting yourselves on the line each and every single day. And I just can't say enough. Thank you very much. And the thought that you obviously did save some people's lives, you know, just really says it all. So keep up the good work. Stay safe, each and every single one of you. And thank you once again.
Just also, please let the detectives know that we are tremendously grateful and proud of their work and understanding that they cannot be here because for obvious reasons, but they should know that even though they're undercover, you know, all of us in county government and all of the residents are truly mindful of all the things that they do and the sacrifices they make. So thank you. Do you want to, would you please?
We'll pass your comments on.
Okay, thank you. I invite you up now for a presentation. Okay, this is the public comment portion of our meeting. We have changed the rules slightly so that in the public comment portion, speakers will have up to 5 minutes to give their remarks on the items. You don't have to take 5 minutes, but you can. Our first speaker is the president of the Nassau County CSEA, Jerry Laracuda.
Thank you, Majority Leader Nicolello. Honorable legislators, thank you on both sides, giving us the opportunity to bring something very important to everyone's attention. I really believe this might be one of the most important issues that we've spoken about in many years. I'm talking about the future of our one and only public hospital and long-term care center, A. Holly Patterson and UMC, and what's going on. Basically, what's happening in a large picture would be that they're being taken over pretty much. There's a 21 statement of works, which they tell me means contracts. I never heard of that before. But between Northwell Healthcare Systems and NUMC. And these statement of works basically give Northwell the right to look into every piece of operation at our hospital, our only public hospital, and then have strategic planning meetings on what we're going to do about the hospital in the future. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to play Nostradamus right now, okay? I've done this before here. When they hired Armor Healthcare at the jail, I said, we'll be getting rid of them in a few years. And I listed a few reasons I'd rather not repeat today, and they all came true. So I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't intervene here, you as a legislative body, we will no longer have a public hospital in about 2 years, maybe 3 at best, okay? Because the strategic planning of this healthcare system is going to be to take the parts that make money, and I can give you some examples, the dialysis. Well, let me tell you what's happened so far so you know what I'm talking about. Already we have lost level 1 trauma for pediatrics. That happened a little over a year and a half ago because the healthcare system refuses to pay $500,000 a year for a pediatric neurosurgeon. So right now, God forbid, a child in East Meadow or Merrick or Uniondale gets hurt and needs level 1 trauma care, they have to drive past our hospital, the public hospital of Nassau County. What the hell is going on in this county? And who is behind this? Northwell's not big enough? They already have 60% of every bed in Long Island in Nassau County. They should not be commingling private sector health care with public sector health care. Yes, our hospital's losing money. You know why? One of the reasons they're losing money, Nassau County owes them $30 million. I asked, when are you going to pay that? They said never. They're not paying the $30 million because it came from the previous administration. I don't even know if they're still paying for the health care that we're offering at the jail because they don't like that deal. So let me just give you an example. Okay, so pediatric, here's the plan, the future plan. And if you ask me how I know this, I will tell you that board members have told me, the former CEO, and I want to take this moment to thank the former CEO, George Tunis. George and I, we've had our issues. We fought like hell, but that's what we're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, he recognized the need for a fair contract. And we got a fair contract, despite a lot of opposition from a lot of different areas. And I give him credit for sticking to his guns, signing that agreement, and getting it passed by the board at that time. The makeup of the board is different today. We would not get that contract passed today. There's been 3 new additions made to it by this administration upstairs, and they were not happy with the contract. So when Peter Schmidt told me 12 years ago, if you got a problem with the hospital, go back to the hospital, it's not our purview, them days are over. It's now directly your purview. Because everything about what's happening there is going to affect all your constituents and my members. So, dialysis, that's going bye-bye. How do I know that? A board member told me that. OBGYN, gone. Where's it going? South Nassau Hospital, who just built a $57 million super duper, OBGYN state-of-the-art place, all right? That's going to go. Why? Because 30% of the babies being born in Nassau University Medical Center is down. It's down 30%. Well, we're down 30,000 emergency room entries, too, because they're all going to Northwell. Northwell, I told you this 2 years ago, maybe. They monitor our 911 system. They beat us to the call. You have insurance? Yes, okay, we'll take it in. You don't have insurance? Hey, there'll be another bus in a minute. We'll get you over to NUMC. This is serious stuff. So here's the issue that, so we're going to lose level 1 trauma. Level 1 trauma. Understand what I'm saying to you right now. You can't afford to lose level 1 trauma. We can't afford to lose level 1 trauma. Your constituents can't afford that. Everybody I've spoke to knows somebody, either a friend or a family member, that was rushed there to that hospital under a level 1 trauma situation and mostly saved. Police officers that were wounded while working and doing their job to protect us were brought there, and their lives were saved. We lose level 1 trauma, they're going to have to pass us up again. It's happening. It's happening, legislators. It's going to happen. Trust me. So what I'm asking you to do today, or one other thing. I mean, there's so many things I could be going into. We now have NYFA after 20 years. Where the hell were they for 20 years? All of a sudden, by the way, we get a contract that doesn't include 5 zeros, and they want to take over. And they're having a meeting tomorrow night. Well, we're going to meet Mr. Bofsky at his meeting. Yeah, we're going to tell him where to go. Because I'm kind of sick and tired of Bofsky and company after 20 years of being in this county. Time for them to take a hike, quite frankly. The out-of-control control board. And how do you go from not even looking at the hospital for over 20 years to all of a sudden being a control board? Is that what they plan on doing tomorrow night? Are we going to allow that? That's insane. At the direction of who, by the way? Is there a direction from this county for NYFA? I think that's illegal. I hate to say it, but, from Washington, I've heard this word, collusion. I don't know. I think it's illegal to have somebody direct an unelected state-appointed board to oversee something if things happen the way they don't like it. See, I fear no one, and I respect everybody up here. So I'm saying what's on my mind to protect my members. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be saying what I'm saying right now. But I'm saying to you because I want you to know the truth. So here's the thing that's the killer. We have a cath lab, cost us $1 million, $2 million. I don't know. It happened under Gianelli. He wanted to get the cath lab going. That means if you have a heart attack, you can be brought to our hospital. We can perform all kinds of cardiac care, emergency treatment. We can give you a stent. The only thing we couldn't do, I believe, was open heart surgery. But we could save your life. And we do hundreds of, it could be millions and tens of millions of dollars a year in preventative cardiac care. Well, I had it done. I had to go to Winthrop years ago. They do angioplasty, right? They do 20, 30 a day. A day. Each one is between $20,000 and $30,000. We have the cath lab sitting there for 3 years waiting for it to get certified. And I've been told for 3 years, don't worry, Northwell's working on it. They're going to get it certified. Nobody can do it better than Northwell. Well, guess what? Last Friday, the determination from the State Department of Health came out, and guess who didn't get certified? Nassau University Medical Center, who has the cath lab and is right in the middle and the hub of Nassau County, got turned down by the State Department of Health. But 2 Northwell hospitals got it. Plainview and I'm going to forget the second one. Well, just make it Plainview. Plainview, Northwell, and I believe, I can't think of the second one, it's an emergency room setting. It's not even a full hospital. And they're under the Northwell wing. Am I making accusations? No, I'm giving you information. Northwell's a great institution, a wonderful health care system, one of the best in the country, but they're not public. Where's the lady or the woman going to go when I pass this hospital in 2 years, 3 years, and I pass a 19th floor empty building, and that's where we're headed, Maybe there'll be a little building in the back, one of them satellite buildings. Will be like an ER docs, community hospital, with no services other than you got a flu or a virus come in. Where's the underinsured, the uninsured? Our mission. Where are those folks going to get health care and stay? Where are people going to go for psychiatric help? Where are they going to go for detox and rehab, drug rehab? Do you know any other hospitals around here that offer that on a daily basis like we do? We're a public hospital. That public mission must be saved. So I'm asking for you guys, the legislators, to tell Northwell, because they're the ones that seem to be controlling everything. They have a new chairman now, Mr. Detour. Slow it down. Let's have somebody. Where are these contracts? Why aren't they public? Why aren't we being able to vet this out in the public eye? Why are they being in a dark closet? 23 contracts we know nothing about. And strategic planning meetings. Why are we not involved in them? Why is it one or two people from NUMC and all of Northwell, they got like 5 people on there, are deciding our future? A private vendor hospital is deciding our future. We are not privy to the information, and we have no voice in the outcome. Doesn't that smell to everybody here? Don't we need to slow this down? That's all I'm asking. And with that, I just want you to know one other thing. And Celia, this might be something that would be right in your backyard. A. Holly Patterson, which is part of the corporation, I've been told my whole life, the only green space left is the hub, which we already know Mr. Reckler has got a $1 billion project going on there, for the better, I think for the better. And A. Holly, which had like 100 and something acres of land, that nobody could touch because it's sanctioned land. Sanctioned meaning whoever gave it to us 100 years ago said it could only be used for health care purposes and for those people that need help financially. That's it. It cannot be used by private developers. Go by there right now, you will see like 100 new condos built, high-end stuff. And not only did they not do it for health care, they took our parking spots. So now the people that work there and visit there and live there have nowhere to park. They have to park in the grass, get all wet and muddy, and walk through mud, while this company took over the whole. I mean, it's a disgrace what's happening here, and I would like to know, all I'm asking for, if someone could give me a legal answer, because nobody can, how this lease of 99 years, they weren't able to sell it. So apparently under Ed Mangano's term, I'm not saying he had anything to do with it, but that's the time in 2016, somehow they leased this property for like 99 years, and that gave them the ability to build these high-end luxury condos. Disgraceful is what it is. So I just ask people to slow down. I want that cath lab. We need that cath lab certified. I talked to all the important doctors there, and they said without that cath lab, we don't have a chance of surviving. We need to get that certified. There's no reason. I even spoke to St. Francis. We spoke to St. Francis Hospital. They were willing to come in there and run our cath lab at one point. But people made a lot of noise behind the scenes, and they ran. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. It's sad to say. So anyway, I thank you for your time. There's a meeting tomorrow night at NYFA. We don't know what their plan is. Obviously, it's not a good one. I'm sure they're going to go into executive session and come out. I don't know if they can even go right into a control board. They haven't monitored us. So I don't know. They monitored Nassau County from 99 to 2011. And on March 23rd of 2011, declared a freeze, right? They then took over control. When did they ever monitor the hospital? 5 CEOs have come and gone since they've been in office. The only time they ever reacted to anything was when we finally got a contract that did not include a zero. It's a shameful act all around. So I'm asking for your help because, quite frankly, without help, I don't have the ability, we don't have the ability to keep this from going forward. It's going to close. It's going to be closed. Thank you for your time.
Jerry, the meeting, is it still, what is it, 7 o'clock, right? The NYFA meeting?
Tonight, yes.
At 7. All right, I'm going to be there. But Do they still have the burn unit in NUMC? Is that
They're
still?
looking to get rid of the burn unit, and I'm told the burn unit will go. We have all different receivers. Burn unit was going to be offered to either Winthrop or Northwell. Now, my latest tell was, and this is the reason, we only had 83. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up because I'm going to give you the reason. We only had 83 cases last year. I don't care if you had 5.
Yeah.
We're still one of the best burn units in the country. You don't give that. I mean, my daughter was in there for 12 days when she was 5 years old. They saved her life. This is the best burn unit around. We cannot give this burn unit away to anybody. And it's literally giving it away. Picking apart our public hospital for the betterment of a private, very wealthy healthcare system. It's a shameful act.
Do they still do the mammographies for women there and stuff?
They do.
Like that? Are they? But you don't know.
That will stop. I mean, we still do that. Where will the mom go when they take OBGY down? I don't know. They're saying, well, they'd have to eventually. This was said behind closed doors, so I can't give up sources. But I was told that the discussion was, if we ever close the hospital someday, then the people that are underinsured and uninsured will have to just we'll have to all absorb it. Winthrop, St. Joe's, North Shore, Syosset. Imagine you're living in Merrick or Uniondale and you got to go to Syosset. And they're going to give you, and listen, if you go to any one of those hospitals and it's a life or death, of course you're going to get saved. You're going to be helped and assisted. By law, they have to. But the day or minute you're stable, you're getting a ticket to boot out. And right now they go to us. I don't know where they're going to go when there is no us.
One other thing, when you said about Northwell monitoring the 911 calls, I mean.
That's been going on for years now.
How do they monitor them?
Well, first of all, they got into all the villages that have police forces, right? We all know that tragedy. And
Right.
Commissioner Ryder is aware of that because he tried to work with us over the years, as well as other police officials, to try to keep the police medics in the villages. But Northwell got into them, all of them, and there was a fee involved. I forget, $250,000 fee, something for them to get the contract in, and that's how the villages we lost. Now, aside from that, if they have an ambulance somewhere around Merrick Avenue and Hempstead Turnpike, they have radios that can now unscramble or hear our 911 calls that we're spending $10 million, $20 million a year, to go with, and they beat us to the scene. And literally, I've been told, and I'm only going by this is hearsay, but I believe it. They ask the patient if he's, unless he's, a level 1 trauma, if the person has like a bad head injury and he's all right, he's talking, what insurance do you have? If he says, I have none, all right, well, we're going to keep an eye on you. And they wait for our bus to get him. This is really a crying shame. And I have police medics that'll testify to this. So if Northwell wants to sue me, they can. I got people ready to testify to it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Jerry, I also heard through the grapevine that they're talking about the hyperbaric chamber as being another potential casualty of this.
Yes, the hyperbaric chamber. Now, listen, we can't, let me just say one thing to you. It's unfair, but it's their fault. It's unfair to sit here and make definitive conclusions when I haven't yet read all the contracts and information. But that's not our fault. That's because they are prohibiting anybody from seeing these 23 agreements. But yes, people that are in the know have said the hyperbaric chambers, along with the burn unit, they almost go together in a lot of ways, right?
They do for volunteer firemen, I can tell you that
Right,
much.
and the other thing is we would need a neurosurgeon, a vascular neurosurgeon, and that's another, they don't want to pay any of these doctors $400,000 or $500,000, but I understand the next CEO is looking for a lot more than that. And we're going to find out what that's all about soon.
Thanks, Jerry.
Go on. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair. How are you doing?
Oh, hi, Gary.
Thank you.
Szilagyi.
So I guess what you're talking about here is the systematic or consistent dismantling of the public healthcare system here.
Yes.
Okay.
Like selling for parts.
And you're stating that there are a number of parts, I guess, that are about to be closed, and therefore that would create a justification for closing the main hospital.
Yeah, the setup is in place, okay? First of all, they're using Grant Thornton as one of their consultants, and we've been listening to Grant Thornton for 25 years. Grant Thornton's been closing out hospitals for 25 years. So when you say, oh, NIFA's, I believe they're NIFA's consultant or the hospitals, but either one, Grant Thornton will recommend because we're losing revenue. We're losing revenue in so many ways because, number one, the state cut back a lot. The county does not match what the state gives us, where every other, I believe, they're supposed to match that money, dollar for dollar, but it's not just this administration. I don't think any county executive, any administration has ever matched the district money, it's called, the DISH money that we get from the state for handling all patients. Our mission is to take care of all patients, regardless of their ability to pay.
So if no prior administration has funded this, why should this administration do so?
Oh, yeah, no, listen, I agree. I mean, I agree that I can't blame this administration, but we're about to lose this public benefit. And I don't even know if this administration could do it financially. We used to get to $13 million a year, but that was, if you remember, that was the tobacco money. That was a big help. We don't get that any longer.
So you're asking this body, since we have oversight over the hospital, for us to conduct a hearing. Is that what you're saying?
I would like some information on where they're getting, I mean, who gave Northwell the right to basically, you talk about the fox guarding the hen house. This is the fox running the hen house. I don't get it. And please, I don't want to hear about the CEO is doing this. This is a social injustice. This is not a social justice. This is what I was told, that they're saying this is they're only helping us for social justice. They're getting a lot of money in state grants.
I would like to look into this. So these 23 statements of work, I mean, how can I fall to get some information to confirm?
We foiled them. We're waiting. They told us we had to wait at least 25 days. But then the new chairman told me last Friday I could have him. So I'm going to remind him.
And which legal entity did you foil, please?
We foiled for the statement of works and the strategic planning. There's a board motion right now that says, there's a board motion in place that they did last Thursday that says they will not initiate the statement of works until public review. I don't believe that's going to happen because they're overriding it. And they will not have any more strategic planning meetings without public input and public review. That would be you guys. That would be this board and us.
Understood. And the last point you mentioned about the facility that now has condos, you referenced to my colleague, Legislator Bino, but which district is that in? Isn't that in district?
It's Uniondale.
It's Mackenzie's district, isn't it? No, it's not. Oh, it's your district. Okay.
Who is it? Kevon? It's District 1. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. Mr. Kevon Abrams and minority leader.
And that's a pilot program, correct?
It's a pilot. And they're getting IDA tax breaks. So I plan on seeing if I can get to that board at some point as well. Okay. Well, all we want is a parking lot. That's all we want. At this point, we're not going to get the houses knocked down. We know that. They should be for health care, and they should be for people that, they should be affordable housing. I don't believe either of those issues are being met. So at least give us a parking lot that you took away when you built the houses.
Well, again, I'm representing a community that looks to the medical center for many purposes and services. I'm deeply concerned about some of the statements made here today, and I will be following up. And I thank you for coming today and presenting this information.
Can't thank you enough, and let's hope that we're able to save this place. It's very important. It's part of Nassau County's history, our heritage, and we want to see it another 70 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Linda Lyons.
Good afternoon. Firstly, I wanted to congratulate those who have received awards today and thank them for their time and their care and their service to our community, Nassau County. My name is Linda Lyons. I live at 3 West Park Drive in Old Bethpage. As a 42-year resident of Plainview, Old Bethpage, and a recently retired educator after 28 years within the same school district, I've been an active participant in PTA and an advocate in our community, even before the days of RAGE, Residents Against our Garbage Expansion. initiating the sidewalks on Haypath Road approaching Haypath Park, as well as the concern for the installation of a traffic light at the intersection of Haypath Road and Round Swamp Road, just to name a few past endeavors. I'm here today to speak with you this afternoon to continue to discuss two very treacherous safety issues in our community. We are extremely concerned and frightened regarding the ongoing furious danger at the turn from the entrance of Round Swamp Road when traveling west on Old Country Road. Sadly, as you know, there was already at least one traffic death at this location, and I recently learned of a second death. As many of you already know, this turn is dangerously difficult to navigate, particularly due to the curve in the design of the island and the fact that it is extremely difficult to ascertain which lane is entering Round Swamp Road and which is an entry in the opposite direction onto Old Country Road. Even longtime community members who have been using this entrance and exit for many years on a regular basis find this intersection to be challenging and difficult to navigate, especially at night. Compounding these issues is the fact that the intersection will likely be more heavily traveled when the Country Point community is completed at full occupancy and a back entrance gate is installed. Both of these issues contribute to making this a most difficult and dangerous situation, just waiting for another tragedy. In addition to local residents, the intersection also endangers all visitors to the old Bethpage Restoration and the Museum of Armor. It is the most direct and expeditious route when exiting the Long Island Expressway and the Northern State Parkway to both of these venues. In recent years, as you know, there have been many more evening events, Halloween, Christmas, etc., than ever before. At the very least, as a partial and temporary solution, is the suggestion of much more direct lighting on the island and the road, enhancing the exit and entrance to avoid the dreaded and deadly head-on crash or another spin-out that we fear in our Old Bethpage community. In addition, the need for flashing lights, fluorescent signs, and markers are extremely crucial. It is important to note the site I'm speaking of is approximately 1 to 1.5 miles from Matlin Middle School and our high school, where, as you know, numerous evening activities take place on a daily basis. Many students and parents use this route to and from the school. Additionally, the actual curve in the design of the island needs to be re-examined. It just baffles our minds that Round Swamp Road was just recently repaved, new sidewalks were installed, all in advance of the completion of Country Point. New traffic lights were also installed. But to date, these very real safety concerns have not yet been addressed. I must tell you that I recently heard, and am horrified to repeat, the following scenario. During a recent nighttime rainstorm, a vehicle traveling west on Old Country Road, approaching the left-hand turn signal to Round Swamp Road, actually entered the exit from Round Swamp Road onto Old Country Road eastbound. Closely behind that car, a second car directly followed the first vehicle. Thank God no one was exiting from Round Swamp at the same time. This very possibly could have been the perfect storm to a double head-on collision. I fiercely urge each of you, very, very cautiously, to approach this intersection late at night, particularly when it is raining, to understand the nature and severity of this life or death safety concern. The other major safety concern for our community is on Haypath Road, at the crossing of the bike and hiking path. There are presently no flashing warning lights for drivers as those that have been installed on Old Country Road and Old Bethpage Road, where bikers are crossing. Unfortunately, Haypath Road has become much more heavily trafficked in recent years. It is used by many commercial vehicles and trucks as a route to Spagnoli Road and Route 110.
Ms. Lyons, could you please
I'm done.
wrap up? Okay, thank you.
I'm done. Bikers often cross Haypath Road without slowing down or looking before entering the road. Believe it or not, we've seen families biking and individuals with strollers putting themselves at grave risk. Although there are stop signs, because of a hill, there is a minimal line of visibility for drivers to see pedestrians and bikers when they don't observe the same stop signs. Additionally, the shrubs and trees that border the trail affect the visibility as the car approaches. It is our hope that our community can be proactive by installing flashing lights that are activated by movement to avert any further tragedies.
Okay,
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. We look forward to meeting with you for continued dialogue towards a collaborative solution towards a resolution for these major safety issues. I'm done.
Thank you. Legislator Drucker. Thanks.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Thank you, Linda, for coming down here. I know it was, you've spoken to my office about these particular sites, these locations. I live in the community, and I share with you they are dangerous. I myself have turned down that side, and thankfully my wife, who's the best backseat driver in the world, she's alerted me to the fact that I was turning into the oncoming lane. So there is definitely a need for some enhanced traffic regulations. I have alerted DPW about this situation based on your comments and the comments of others in the community. We are working on it. They are working on it. I will stay on top of it for you and for the community and let you know what's going to be happening. But definitely enhancements are definitely needed.
Perhaps somebody could answer for me how Round Swamp Road was repaved and had new sidewalks installed with this danger still existing. It's been there for years. I've been here 42 years, and it hasn't changed.
Okay. We're going to look into it, Linda.
Thank you.
Pete Gaffney.
Name's Pete Gaffney, resident of Westbury, Carl Place School District. Happy New Year, everyone, and a healthy one. In Carl Place on Westbury Avenue, at the underpass of the Meadowbrook Parkway, Nassau County is responsible for cleaning up their property. Usually when contacted, the county will only clean up 5 linear feet of the property, neglecting the balance. It's a real safety issue for someone who's walking, especially when the vegetation is overgrown. You never know who's going to jump out. Across the street is rarely cleaned, if ever, by the county. The Nassau County Public Works, they've been contacted many times, and the latest was on Monday, January 15th, regarding the garbage dump on Westbury Avenue, directly underneath Meadowbrook Parkway. Another time was October 5th, 2019. At the site, I happened to meet and spoke to a worker, a county worker, and who agreed that the garbage was in fact on county property. He called his boss right there and then told him about the garbage. Nothing has been done. It's been this way for a long time, and it's to create a safe area for the residents. What I've done is I've taken some pictures of it, and you look at the actual garbage dump, and this is for you to all look at on how much is there. First picture shows a shopping cart. Usually there's a second one there because that's a homeless person's property that's there, and that comes and goes periodically. And also, the only thing that's missing from these pictures is the kitchen sink. But I think that we've got the bathroom sink here that's right on the ground. So this is for you to review. Maybe we can get this resolved. I've been trying to do it for a long time now.
When you're finished, please give the photos to the clerk's
Will
staff
do.
over there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, second safety issue is the third track project. The MTA and Long Island Railroad and 3TC bridge replacement on Glen Cove Road. Basically, Glen Cove Road, we all know, is one of Nassau County's busiest roads. Westbury Avenue in Carl Place is just a short distance from the proposed work area. When the traffic backs up on Glen Cove Road, and it will, I wrote and I also asked the MTA and Long Island Railroad, how's it going to prevent safely our additional traffic on Westbury Avenue? Well, because of an impatient driver who's heading to the mall or some other business, they're going to look to do a cut-through on narrow Westbury Avenue. The email response that I've got was, throughout the month of January 2020, construction crews will install and support of excavation, SOE, tiebacks, and excavate to build the west abutments. As a result, the west side sidewalk will be closed. One southbound lane, will be closed to traffic for approximately 2 months. For the traffic shift on Glen Cove Road, a maintenance and protection of traffic plan, an MPT, and a work zone traffic control plan, WZTC, has been reviewed by AHJ, which in this case was Nassau County. We are continuing to canvass the surrounding area, notifying constituents of what's to come. It appears to me, basically, that the MTA, Long Island Road, and 3TC, they're at it again. What I'd like to do is, again, show you some pictures of Glen Cove Road. They were taken yesterday. They've removed handicap signage, noticed work barrels across the east side of Glen Cove Road, not mentioned. Past experience with the MTA and Long Island Road and 3TC regarding their Cherry Lane Bridge replacement traffic mitigation was a disaster. Fortunately, local residents and commuters and children walking to school were not injured. We're still dealing with workers who are illegally removing no parking, no standing signs on Cherry Lane. Several are still missing. There's no real traffic plan or plans have been shared with our community outside of closing one lane for 2 months. Maybe Mineola got one, I don't know. Since you have approval of Nassau County, how is the traffic safety plan going to affect the residents of Carl Place and Westbury? The Long Island Railroad's final environmental impact statement had plans for digging up and replacing water and sewer lines on Glen Cove Road. My question is that still occurring? If so, will the digging up of the Glen Cove Road occur during the proposed bridge replacement from January to May timeline? And then one additional note regarding the Meadowbrook Bridge addition to this March. Will that construction affect anything in Carl Place or the Westbury Avenue? I look forward to answers to my questions. And just on one side note with the police, just thank you for your service and be safe out there. And I got $10 if anybody can get a picture of Commissioner Ryder going over a 6-foot fence. Thank you very much.
Sure. Mr. Gaffney, how are you?
Hi, legislator.
So I know we spoke briefly before, but just so that I can say it publicly, as far as that space goes underneath the Meadowbrook Parkway, I know we've sent us emails for quite a while now trying to deal with it, and I agree with you. It's disgusting, and it needs to be cleaned up. And it's my understanding of it has been that it's the county's right-of-way has been maintained and the state's has not. So as I said to you, we've finally, I spoke to the commissioner, and they finally have someone from the state that's going to come. They're all going to go down there together and designate what is what. And my understanding is that space, that area that you're talking about, is the state's. But I guess they didn't want to acknowledge it, or they're, I guess we're going to find out, really. But my belief is that it is the state's, which is why the county has been fighting about going down and having to maintain it. So once that's taken care of, we'll certainly let you know, and we'll tell you exactly what happened at that meeting, because I would like to know. I'm tired of looking at it when I drive by there, and I certainly know, your level of frustration with it. It needs to be maintained, and it needs to be taken care of on a regular basis. And I think that, in all honesty, I think that the offense there shouldn't be a cut-through in there. I don't think that's really necessary. I don't think that it's a place for a cut-through. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a fence that's supposed to be, blocking it. So we'll see what happens, but it's definitely going to be addressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to give you pictures on both.
Okay, thank you.
Richard Clolery.
To the members of the legislature, a new year has come to us all. I am hoping that maybe there is hope in the age of climate change, and that maybe there will be discussing some effort to increase funding on our end for buses and restore routes that were cut. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here to complain about two other things, which are, for one, about a couple months ago, the Department of Roads decided to replace the signal buttons that allow us to safely cross Hempstead Turnpike on foot. This is all well and good if it works. However, for the intersection of Newbridge and Hempstead Turnpike, for the most part, it doesn't work. What I mean by that is, as I travel up Newbridge Road on the right side, I approach the corner of that and Hempstead Turnpike, there are two switches. One set that allows a person, when the light changes, to safely cross Newbridge on the south side of the intersection of Newbridge and Newbridge Road and Hempstead, and one that does the same for those who wish to cross Hempstead Turnpike on the east side. A few weeks ago, after those switches were installed, they froze and failed to work. Do you know what that means? It means that those people who have to use these crosswalks are inadvertently crossing against the stop signal and putting their lives in the driver's hands. The worst part is that ever since those single buttons have been frozen, no one's checked on them to be fixed. Why is that? And also another thing, for the longest time, whenever I check the meeting schedule, the one thing that I've noticed is that there is no date for when the budget meeting is supposed to be. Now, how can I, as a concerned citizen, can participate in the budget process if I don't know when it is? Explain to me how that works. I, as a concerned citizen, am encouraging you, the legislature, to fix these problems and also find the time to discuss a significant increase in the budget for the buses. That is all.
Okay, thank you. And we're good.
Anybody here wants anything to say?
No?
No? Good day, then.
Thank you. Karen Montalbano?
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Montalbano. I'm the Vice President of the Baldwin Historical Society, and I'm here to talk about the Kellogg House, which many people may not realize what it is. It's the house that was preserved and saved across the street from the First Precinct on Harrison Avenue in Baldwin. When the house was preserved, and it belongs to Nassau County, we were told that nothing would happen to the house until after the opening of the First Precinct. Well, that happened at the end of January of 2017, okay? And then in 2017, we were able to get that house listed on the National Historic Register and the New York Historic Register. So it's the only historical building registered in the hamlet of Baldwin. This is an important thing. We've been waiting for the house to be restored. Over the summer, I was very happy to see that there was work being done. The roof was being addressed, gutters were being put in, etc. And I was told by our legislator that the house would be painted on the outside by the end of the summer. This would have been a great boost to our neighborhood because, unfortunately, the house doesn't look good. It needs a good coat of paint. Somehow, that didn't happen. We are waiting for something to happen, and you take care of your property here on this corner. We have been told that there is money that has been budgeted in the budget. I want to be sure that that money stays in the budget and has been used to address not only the exterior of the house, but the interior of the house. The house was promised to us to be used for the community by a prior administration. We are right in the middle of our Downtown Revitalization Initiative grant. This is an important part of making our downtown look nice. We have a beautiful new precinct right across the street, and this property just doesn't look well. And it needs a coat of paint, and it needs cleaning, and it needs to be figured out what to do with it. So I'm here to ask you to please keep in mind as you move into this year to make sure that you are working on this house, make sure the community has input into it, make sure the community has use of it, because it is a National Historic Registered property, and we should be proud of it. And the more you neglect the work on it, the more you're going to need to have to invest in it. Thank you.
Legislator Muley.
Yes, Karen, you and I, of course, have spoken about this property numerous times, and you know that it's a high priority for me. We were able to get the money into the capital projects budget, so it is there. And you were told that it would be painted because I was told it would be painted, and I'm just as disappointed as you are that it has not happened yet. I'm continuing to work very closely with the Parks Department, because that's the department it's currently housed under, to make sure that work continues to move forward. And as we've discussed, property will move into the Smith and DeGroat portfolio, and there will be nonprofits to provide the rent money, with the idea that we will be able to carve out some space for community use. That is the plan going forward, and I'm very pleased that the money is there to make sure that that happens, and I'm just as anxious as you are to see it all happen.
Thank you. And I know we've had this discussion. I just also know that sometimes things get rerouted along the way, and I really would like to see our community as it's being revitalized. We have the zoning overlay coming in, we have the DRI, we have so many things going on, and this is one little thing that the county has that would really make a difference in how our community appears. And also, I will say, and I know I've offered this and it's been turned down for a number of reasons, the community stands to work with you on this project. We're here and we want to do this and we want to see this, so if there's anything we can do, please call on us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mita J. Merity.
Mita J. Merity, Baldwin resident. I concur with Mrs. Montalbano about the needs for the Baldwin residents, and we need to see some real action with regard to the Kellogg House. First and foremost, I do want to acknowledge public safety and their work to make sure that residents who can come to these sessions actually have parking and don't really have to catch a bus to go across these interesting roads that we do need repair. So I do want to acknowledge the efforts that this legislature has made and those officers that are ensuring that residents do have access to what is labeled as visitors parking. Secondly, I wanted to concur with the statements made by Mr. Laracuta and to offer a possible solution with the thought that unless we go big, we will all go home, or we'll just have additional people going homeless, or have those who are underinsured not have a facility to get what they need. I, for one, have utilized the Nassau University Medical Center when it was Nassau Medical Hospital, when it was Meadowbrook Hospital, et cetera. I have files there that could probably fill their own room. So it's important for me that we do something that's very proactive with regard to that. So here's a suggestion that maybe someone who's watching, someone who's listening might catch on, and I did mention it to Mr. Laracuta, and he was very interested in the possibility of looking into having portions of the unused space within the medical center utilized for expanded veteran services because, again, Nassau County is one of the largest counties in the country that doesn't have its own dedicated facility, and much of the upgrades at the hospital can be incorporated or, I guess, shared with veteran services so that our veterans and their family members would not have to traipse out to Northport or call the Disabled American Veterans 14 days ahead if they have an appointment, things of that nature. Again, just a thought, and considering that there have been upgrades in the medical care advance appropriation to the VA to the tune of $220 billion, I would think that since we pay the second highest taxes in the country, we should be able to get some of those funds to actually do something for a facility in our county for our nation's best. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Boots on the Ground. I had the opportunity yesterday to be with Frank and the team out in Patchogue, where we work together with all ages, all organizations, and an interesting group of Boy Scouts who are very hardworking, to put together over 2,500 UPS boxes, USPS, Postal Service boxes for our troops. I believe they're going directly to the 82nd Airborne. So I do want to make sure that you all know I don't just spend my time coming here to beg for legislation and funding to support our veterans at home and abroad. I'm actually out there doing the work. And hopefully you all got a sticker, because I did want to make sure that you had those as well, to support the efforts of our local support organizations who always need the resources, including time as well as money. Lastly, I do want to address the costs for a number of our older veterans and residents who are trying to do some things to, one, protect their homes and their investments, and the growing costs that have been attributed, I guess, to budgets to address some of the costs for residents has become very unwieldy. Many of our residents are trying to set up their homes possibly into trusts and things of that nature. And I don't know if any of you have had any recent real estate transactions, but those costs are very high and it becomes very unwieldy for them to do so. So I'm hoping that as we move forward, if we can look at possibly a pilot program, because I think you will find if you bring those costs down, you might get more people interested in actually utilizing those services, so again, that they can protect their vital assets, which are their homes. And in closing, I would just hope that in reading in Newsday about shared services between our county, townships, villages, and other municipalities, I'm hoping that we can also look at a stronger return on investment to the actual residents as we're putting these costs out, because we pay county taxes, we pay town taxes, we pay school taxes, and residents are continuing to leave in droves because they're not receiving the services that they need to do what they need to do here. And since I have 10 seconds and I promised the police commissioner that I would try to stay on time, I'm hoping that in the budgets for the diverse business organizations, you increase the equity as well as the diversity and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Sheeran.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Sheeran. I'm a resident of the town of Harbor Isle within the Island Park. I'm speaking today about the NASSO's proposed settlement with LIPA concerning the Barrett Power Plant in my community. This power plant is the largest, oldest, and most polluting power plant in Nassau County by far. It produces 10 times the level of pollution as modern plants, for example, in Yaphank and Caithness. This settlement will raise the taxes in my community, the school taxes, 50%, thousands and thousands of dollars, $5,000, $10,000. This is not a small matter for a community that has been devastated by Sandy and is a working class, middle class community that certainly cannot afford $5,000 to $10,000 increases in their school taxes. The settlement that Nassau negotiated with LIPA is an extremely bad deal. It's a horrible deal for Island Park, and it's also a bad deal for other Nassau residents. It moots the lawsuit that my community paid for, my school district paid for. We spent over $100,000 fighting LIPA on a separate matter related to this, that, yes, we've lost to the trial court, but it's going to be in the appellate division. This settlement moots that. It throws away the hundreds of thousands of dollars that my community spent to try to avoid this result. It also moots important legislation that was proposed in Albany that passed in the Senate, which eliminated the refund obligation. That passed the Senate, and it was due to be introduced in the Assembly next year. This will moot that, so it throws that away. It's unnecessarily premature. There is no need for a settlement at this time. You can wait and give our community a chance to win in the case that we paid for. Give our advocates in Albany a chance to pass legislation that will help us. It's completely premature and unnecessary. It also provides no additional benefits to the community. LIPA, when they have a power plant in a host community, they typically offer a whole host of community benefit program to that community. We get nothing. We get zero in this settlement. Nothing. For example, They give students in Yaphank $25,000 a year scholarships every single year. Millions of dollars go to the school board, go to the community there. This settlement gives us nothing. It adds between $5,000 and $10,000 to our annual school tax bill and gives us nothing. It's a terrible deal. And this board, it was announced in November. My understanding is that it will come before this board for approval sometime in February or March. I urge you to please vote it down. It will destroy my little community, and it's not good for Nassau residents. And I'm a Democrat. I'm a very strong supporter of Laura Curran, but I can't support her in this case. It's devastating to our community. We had hundreds of people come out to a community meeting. Legislator Ford was there. She knows. And so many people spoke up, just realizing how devastating this is going to be to our community. So I would urge you, it's not on the agenda for this meeting, of course, but when it comes up, please vote no. Or better yet, please don't put it on the agenda. just don't tell LIPA no deal. It's not too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Harris.
Good morning. Good afternoon, sorry. Patty Harris, Uniondale, Nostrand Garden Civic Association. Today I would like to talk about the red light cameras in our neighborhood. Legislator Kavon Abraham? Okay. There is 1, 2, 3, I think 3 red light cameras on Uniondale Avenue. It's Uniondale Avenue and Hempstead Turnpike. There's Uniondale Avenue and Jerusalem, and Uniondale Avenue and Nassau Road. Okay, and there's only one intersection that's on Hempstead Turnpike for Uniondale Avenue. So it's Uniondale, it's when you come over to from Charles Lindbergh and then there's Uniondale Avenue and Hempstead Turnpike. How come it wasn't picked a red light for California Avenue in Hempstead Turnpike and Oak Street in Hempstead Turnpike? Yeah.
You're saying, why come we don't have one at the corner of Oak and Hempstead Turnpike?
Yes, I'm sorry. Somebody left their phone up here.
Maybe it was the person that was up there last. Mr. Sharon, he left already, though. Well, he won't get far. So as we work with traffic and safety, the department has the discretion to rotate the traffic lights as they see fit, the red light cameras as they see fit. They haven't seen a reason to rotate it from Hempstead Turnpike in Uniondale or Charles Lindbergh in Uniondale or Hempstead Turnpike because, as you know, that is a major thoroughfare for speeding. People that speed from on that corridor of Hempstead Turnpike has been a big issue for numerous years. I could speak to them about moving it to Oak. I'm not too sure what that would exactly do.
Well, I would think you get more red light tickets than you would on Uniondale Avenue because it's within the neighborhood.
Well,
Hempstead Turnpike is not within the neighborhood. It has more traffic than Uniondale Avenue.
But the goal is not to generate tickets. I know that's what a lot of people believe because that's what the program does. But the goal of the program is to generate and to ensure safety for people that utilize those thoroughfares, whether they're pedestrians or motorists.
I will quote you because you did a quote. I'm going to quote you from a meeting that was at Uniondale High School. You stated that you love red light cameras because it generates a lot of money for the school district.
Patty, first of all, Patty, I couldn't have said that because it doesn't generate any money for the school district.
No, you did say that because
Well, you misinterpreted exactly what I said. But if you feel that that's something that I might have said or something you said that I said, then so be it. We'll agree to disagree.
Okay, then I apologize if I'm wrong if you didn't say that.
Well, it doesn't generate any money for the school district, so I don't know how I could have said that.
So what would be the use of it besides?
The red light camera money, you're talking about two different things. Maybe you're talking about speed cameras.
Okay, what are the red light cameras that is on Uniondale Avenue?
Red light cameras generate revenue for the county.
Okay, what is on Uniondale Avenue? Is it red light or is speed?
There is no jurisdiction in Nassau that has speed cameras. So when you probably heard me say that, there was a brief period in Nassau County history where there were speed cameras in Nassau County. and they were located at Turtle Hook Middle School.
But
on Jerusalem
I'm
Avenue.
not talking about Turtle Hook. I'm talking about Jerusalem Avenue and Uniondale Avenue.
Okay, so there's no speed cameras in that area.
So the money that generate from that camera is not part of the county, or it is?
It is part of the county.
Okay, so how much money you generating on that, on Uniondale Avenue, than you are on Hempstead Turnpike in Uniondale Avenue, and then Uniondale?
We can check and get those numbers. If you need those numbers, we can get those numbers in terms of what each location generates in revenue.
Because I would think the location from, on Hempstead Turnpike should be added on to what you have already then. If it's not generating money and it's for safety, then it should be at California Avenue, Hempstead Turnpike, and Oak Street and Hempstead Turnpike.
But what I'm trying to say is that we would need to demonstrate the argument for moving the camera for safety purposes to those locations.
Okay, you could do a study.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So
Okay.
So we're right back to where I was starting. So basically, the department, traffic safety, has to take a look to determine whether or not it's warranted to move those cameras. But they have strategically moved cameras throughout Nassau County. But we'll take a look. We could do a study. So you're saying that there's an enormous amount of accidents at the intersection of California and Hempstead Turnpike?
At Oak Street.
In Oak Street, okay. All right.
And I don't think it's that many by Uniondale Avenue and Jerusalem Avenue.
Uniondale and
I don't think it's as many accidents at Uniondale Avenue and Jerusalem Avenue, because now they're conditioned because the red light is there.
Good point.
And at Nassau Road, maybe. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it.
Pearl Jacobs.
Happy New Year to all, and a happy and a healthy New Year. I would first like to begin by thanking the Nassau County Police Department under the leadership of Commissioner Patrick Ryder for their service and protection to the residents of Nassau County and for hearing and responding, and I emphasize the word responding, to the issues brought forth by the residents of Uniondale. Thank you, Nassau County Police Department. Before I begin, I would like to quote Oprah Winfrey. What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool that we all have. As a community advocate, I bring forth issues that are of most concern to Uniondale residents. At our most recent meeting of the Nostrand Garden Civic Association on January 6th, a community forum was held so that residents could voice their concerns. And as a community, we could discuss issues that continue to challenge the quality of life in Uniondale. The top 3 issues discussed were as follows: lack of effective code enforcement, building and sanitation, the deplorable condition of Uniondale's roads, blighted and abandoned lots that permeate Uniondale's landscape. And a few months ago, several months ago, there were emails back and forth between myself and Legislator Abraham's office, and I also copied in the county executive regarding the deplorable condition of Jerusalem Avenue. And those emails went back and forth for a little while, and then they suddenly stopped. There was no action taken at all, and I haven't heard anything thus far. As I drive through the various towns, villages, and hamlets of Nassau County, I see road improvements in Mineola, Old Country Road, Belmore and Wantagh, Jerusalem Avenue, Freeport, Brookside Avenue, and several other locations. Virtually every road in Uniondale has been excavated, dug up, cut up, and patched up, leaving bumps, slopes, divots, uneven roads and holes that pose safety hazards for drivers and that cause damage to their front end suspensions and their tires. PSE&G, LI, and Nat Grid have disrespected the Uniondale community by making substandard road repairs after excavating our roads. The quality of restorative repairs made by PSE&G, LI, and Nat Grid in other communities are of a much higher standard than that of the repairs made in Uniondale. I did speak to PSEG, LI, and Nat Grid management concerning the substandard quality of restorative road repairs, or as we in Uniondale refer to it in Uniondale, the patch jobs that were done. I have previously requested representatives from Nassau County and the town of Hempstead to come out and take a tour of Uniondale. I am still waiting. Front Street in Uniondale poses a serious health and safety issue as severe ponding occurs on this roadway. As a result of this severe ponding, icy, slippery conditions are prevalent in the winter months, and dirty standing water is prevalent in the summer months, a haven for mosquitoes and various other insect larvae. Front Street closely resembles a third world roadway. As Uniondale has long suffered from disinvestment, exclusion, redlining, and disenfranchisement, there is a lot of work and investment that needs to be done to bring Uniondale to equivalent status with that of the rest of Nassau County. Residents are looking forward to the start of the construction of the Nassau Hub in Uniondale. We are excited that this vibrant venue will be a walkable destination for Uniondale residents and a destination choice for Nassau County residents and visitors near and far. It is our desire that the Hub project will be a substantial success for Nassau County. It is also our hope that Uniondale's residential neighborhoods will be included in its vision and not be left out as a neglected and gangrened appendage. Further exclusion would only cast a brighter light on the many disparities that currently exist in Uniondale, south of Hempstead Turnpike. Yes.
Thank you, Pearl, for coming. I just want to respond to one of the issues that you brought up. Ken, Commissioner Arnold, do you mind coming up? Because I know Jerusalem Avenue has been an issue that has been talked about, obviously with the whole diversion, and then obviously the repaving, and then now we're moving forward to resurfacing Jerusalem Avenue. But is it, to our knowledge, is Jerusalem Avenue scheduled to be resurfaced as part of the capital plan that we're voting on in the coming months?
No, it does not need to be resurfaced. We've done the patching from the Barnes Avenue job, and it's rideable. While there are patches there, it's not visually pleasing. The road drives fine, with the exception of recent permit work that the utilities are doing.
So when will that recent permitted work address what Mrs. Jacobs has talked about?
I need to go back to my permit office to see where PSE&G is, or NatGrid on their work, and when the final restoration of their patches will happen.
And just so that we're clear, the permitted work that you're talking about, Mr. Arnold, is that the same area that Mrs. Jacobs is talking about?
I know the permitted work, when I drove the road after the emails I received, was towards the east side of Jerusalem Avenue. That's where I saw it. I mean, it might have moved further west since that point. I have not been on the road probably in a month or two.
So when you say east side, we're talking about down by Walmart?
Yeah, I think where North Jerusalem connects to it, I think that location down there.
Down by Walmart.
If I'm correct, I'm going by memory, but I think that's where I saw East Meadow.
And you're saying, based on your drive, it extended a little bit west, maybe as far down as A Holly?
I think so. I'm not sure. I know that I saw PSE&G doing work down in that end of Jerusalem Avenue, and that's where I saw the condition needed to be addressed, but the permit work was ongoing, so until they finish and do final, there was no comment coming from my office at that point.
Ms. Jacobs, where is the area that you're specific? Are you specifically talking about the area that Mr. Arnold's talking about?
I'm referring to that overpass coming from Merrick, going towards the ShotRite, going towards the A. Holly Patterson site, because that road was excavated. Okay, they put more sewage lines under there. Okay, and going towards the Holly Patterson development site.
So it sounds like we're talking the same area.
Exactly, and the road is not. It's not drivable. Okay, we make our way over it, but I have my residents here. Is that road drivable? Patty, is that road drivable?
I think we're talking two things here. One is the restoration that was done as part of Barnes Avenue. That restoration is final, and the department is of the opinion that it is complete and does not need any immediate work. There's also utility work being done by others that I will ask my utility permit group to go out and make modifications and ask them to restore any poor patches. They do that on a continuous basis, and I'll have them look at it this week.
So Ken, I'm just looking at an email. It's a correspondence. Mrs. Jacobs is not on it, but it's a correspondence between our office and your office. And it appears that it says that you're prepared to do, as part of the 2020 resurfacing, that Jerusalem Avenue would be included. Certain segments.
I think we said where and when, if there's any large areas to do, but the road itself was not going to be resurfaced. I don't believe that. I believe that's not part of our program. It's more apt to happen in 2021.
So when can folks anticipate that this permitted work will be completed and they would have a safe thoroughfare, or not, I shouldn't say safe, I should say a drivable thoroughfare that's not bumpy? When can we expect that?
I can reach out to PSE&G and Nat Grid, depending on whose work it is, and find out. It is a challenge, as Legislator Rhodes knows. On Merrick Road, we had a similar issue, and we pushed them along as hard as we could to get to a final point, but we will reach out to them and speak with them.
Okay, so can we anticipate that Mrs. Jacobs, my office, as well as Michelle Darcy from our office, is corresponded on your findings?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, so I do have a question. How is Nat Grid and PSE&G allowed to leave these roads in such deplorable conditions? Are there monies that are set aside to restore these roads, okay, after the excavation is done? Okay, where is the quality control? Where is the quality control from Nassau County? Does anyone come out and take a look at these roads after they're finished their excavating and restored? Does anybody, is there quality control from Nassau County?
Let me just say, Ken, you can answer that, obviously, but if for further discussion, if you want to, you
can you answer that?
Sure, yeah, go ahead and answer that
please,
question.
thank you.
Take that rest of it offline.
Yeah, we have permit inspectors that cover the whole county, and they do their best to cover all the different patches and stay on top of the repairs. But remember, there are patches that are temporary in nature and final in nature, and my guys focus on the final patches to make sure they restore so they hold up over the long term.
These patches are atrocious. They're absolutely atrocious. And, you know, I invited you, Mr. Arnold, on the email to come down and take a ride through Jerusalem Avenue. I was going to ride with you. I had some members from my civic association that we were going to ride with you and show you exactly what we were talking about. But, you know, that was ignored as well.
It wasn't ignored. I responded to the legislature.
All right. I mean, all right.
I took umbrage with some of the things you said in your email, which is why I did not respond to you directly.
All right.
I only speak truth to power.
We're going to go to the.
I disagree strongly in that.
We can agree to disagree.
All right. Thank you. We're going to go to the business of the legislature now. We have several appointees, and I want to thank the appointees who are here, and thank you for your patience. Item 17, resolution number 8. It's a resolution to confirm the county executive's appointment of Jeffrey Noguid to the Deferred Compensation Board, moved by Legislator DeWidge Witten, seconded by Legislator Lafazan. That's before us. Is Jeffrey here?
Hello?
Mr. Noguid?
Yes.
I don't know if you want to say anything before we...
Nothing. I look forward to serving on the Deferred Comp Board.
A very smart way to do that, so can't get yourself into trouble. All right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Noguid? Okay. Thank you. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Resolution... item 18, resolution number 9, and item 19, resolution number 10. These are resolutions confirming the county executive's appointment of Habib Ahmed and Harry Malhotra to the Asian American Advisory Council pursuant to sections 203 and 2114 of the Nassau County Charter, moved by Rose Walker, seconded by Legislator Gaylor. So those two are before the legislature. Is Mr. Malhotra, or I know that Mr. Habib Ahmed is here. Okay, well, they're both here.
Good afternoon, Presiding Officer and the members of Legislature. Thank you very much for the confidence that you have placed in me, and I'll try my best to serve Nassau County as Asian American agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we go to Mr. Malhotra, Mr. Habib, has been a leader in the county for at least as long as I've been on the legislature, and Legislator Muscarella. We had, right after we were first sworn in 1996, Habib invited us to the Islamic Center of Long Island, which was then a very small structure located in Westbury. And I believe almost the entire legislature joined you. So
yes,
you were the president of the organization at that point. It's grown into a tremendous facility, a tremendous community, a tremendous congregation. So
thank you.
We're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Just want to thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to serve the community and the South Asian American vote. Grateful to Ms. Rose Walker for her confidence and all of you. Thank you so much.
Legislator Walker.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And I, too, want to thank Harry for all he does in our community. You know, my district is a very, very diverse community, especially the Hicksville area where Harry happens to live. His children go to school with my grandchildren. And like I said, he and his wife are very, very active in the community. I know he's going to bring a lot to the South Asian council that we've established. And I look forward to working with all of you. And I know they're going to look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Legislator Szilagyi.
Yes, thank you, Habib. It was a pleasure to work with you in the Human Rights Commission as a volunteer about 2 administrations ago. And at that time, the Human Rights Commission was going through some difficult times, and you prevailed, and you were very professional. And in that capacity, it served as a supervisory capacity over the Human Rights Office. And so I'm sure in this manner you will do a great job again, and I look forward to working with you again. Thank you.
Legislator Drucker.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Also, I'd like to add to the accolades to Habib. Habib, since I've been on the legislature, I've been amazed at the work that you do at the ICLI. You are a born leader, and in addition, you are a perfect ambassador for the South Asian community. And what you do day in and day out for that institution, and you come to all the districts throughout Nassau County, you bring your love and your knowledge and your ability to just bridge gaps among all ethnicities and religions. It's really very, very impressive. I think we're blessed and fortunate to have you working with us. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. All in favor of the appointment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? They carry unanimously. Congratulations to both of you. Very good. Thank you. I am going to call the consent calendar next. These are all items that went through committees 2 weeks ago. It's been agreed by the majority and minority that no further debate or discussion needs to take place at this time. Item 1, Ordinance 1. Item 2, Ordinance 2. Item 3, Ordinance 3. Item 4, Ordinance 4. 5, Ordinance 5. Item 6, Ordinance 6. Item 7, Ordinance 7. Item 8, Ordinance 8. Item 9, Ordinance 9. Item 10, Resolution number 1. 12, Resolution number 3. 13, Resolution number 4. 15, Resolution number 6. 16, Resolution number 7. Going to jump to 20, Resolution 11. 21, Resolution 12. 22, Resolution 13. 23, Resolution 14. Moved by Legislator Birnbaum, seconded by Legislator Kennedy. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The consent items carry unanimously.
Okay, I'm going to call item 14. And before I call it, I want to note for the record that the presiding officer, Legislator Nicolello, has recused himself. He stepped out of the room, will not take part in the debate or discussion of this item. Number 14 is Resolution number 5 of 2020, which authorizes the county attorney to compromise and settle the claim of plaintiff in the case entitled AIG, a subrogate of Alan Rosenbaum against Nassau County. That is moved by Legislator Kennedy, and it's seconded by Legislator Drucker. Well,
I'm only here to answer any questions if they
right,
should be
okay.
rising.
And we've already discussed this extensively in executive session previously, so is everyone satisfied? Okay, fine. In that case, all those in favor of this item, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the item passes 18-0, and would somebody notify the presiding officer that we're ready for him again?
Item 11, resolution number 2. It's a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the County of Nassau and the County Police Detectives Association, Inc., and ratifying the act of the Director of Labor Relations of the county and executing such memorandum of understanding, moved by Legislator Ford, seconded by Legislator Bino. This is the detective's contract. It's before the legislature. Do we have someone from the administration to make a presentation at this time?
Good afternoon, Andy Persick, Office of Management and Budget. I'm here to discuss any fiscal questions you may have about the contract.
I mean, are you going to speak about it, or just
Well, I think we've had extensive conversations with the Office of Legislative Budget Review, and we've read the report and worked hand in hand with them, explaining some of the assumptions we had in our savings and everything else. And we had very constructive work with them, and I think it turned out to be a good product. And the one thing from the budgetary aspect is, from my assumptions, is it doesn't cost me money until 2022. So that to me is a saving. So. And then in the out years, we're going out, but there are concessions, and there's a lot of details in this deal that make it, I think, it fixes the problem that we had, and it's cost beneficial in the same way. But it's working for both sides, is what I say.
I believe the projection is that there'll be additional detectives added, and the incentives that have been built into the contract. Was the cost of the additional detectives included in the cost estimates of the contract?
They're included in my budgetary numbers, so they were built into the base that we were growing the out years in. So yes. So.
And in terms of just in terms of finance, I have other questions for the administration later on. But how were the 5 additional days calculated in terms of savings?
It was based on a number of hours that we're going to be getting, what's currently worked, and what the base salary, what the base number of hours they're going to be giving back to us. So it was a calculated method. Without getting into a lot of details, these are very extensive Excel sheets, but I mean, in a nutshell, that's really what it was. It's the current hours they're giving us based on the current hours they're working now. So.
Okay, but there has to be more that goes into it. I mean,
there's a lot more that goes into it. I mean, there's a lot of different assumptions, and these are, I don't want to say it, but the complex models that we sat with OLR with to discuss this, you know what I mean, how we calculated the numbers, and they're very extensive. I mean, it's almost impossible for me to discuss what's in, a cell in Excel to go over it, but they have assumptions, we had assumptions. We kind of came pretty close to where we both landed as far as, what the methodologies were. We had they used different modeling than we did, but we all came to the same thing, which is actually a good thing when you're doing financial modeling, so. Having had some experience here with that. So.
I'm assuming that you took some sort of average salary and factored that into that, correct?
Absolutely, and it was based on averages and numbers, and I mean different assumptions for different things. But it's a model, and you know what I mean. And it kind of was. I hate to say it is comforting to know that giving Maurice and his crew what we thought were our assumptions, and him going off on an independent review of it and coming close to the actual savings was good, so.
Anyone else have any questions for Andy at this time? Legislator Rhodes?
A couple of follow-up questions. Mr. Persich, could you please describe how the STEP plan is going to work for newly promoted detectives?
It was covered the last time. I mean, what anybody who's, and Tatum, I'm going to ask you to just correct me if I'm wrong here, but anybody who's currently in a police officer's step will stay there till they get to their top step, and then if they flip over, they will come over to the new detective grade. But we've also corrected the steps with inside the detective division that was at 15 months to 12 months, and upped the number for the differential between what a police officer was making to what a current detective will be making. So it's a $6,300 benefit from them jumping from a police officer to a detective.
Specifically with respect to detectives, though, that are still in police officer status, are they going to be required to work the 10 days?
Yes.
They will-
5 days.
5 days. Okay, all right. And, okay.
Current detectives and detectives that are designated within 1 year of full approval of this contract.
Will be required to work the 5 days
Correct.
before they can officially transfer their status to detective?
No. So they're in police officer steps, but they will be designated a detective.
Okay, so they've got to work the 5 days before they can enter detective steps?
No, they're separate and apart. So you're in police officer steps, you're designated a detective. You have to work, if you're an incumbent already a detective, or you're newly designated a detective, within 1 year of ratification, you have to work 5 additional days.
How do you, just so I understand, and it may be my own lack of knowledge on this, how do you separate detectives who are still in police officer steps? They are a detective, but they're still technically in police officer steps. How do you separate that from someone who is a detective? How do you separate it from someone who might become a detective?
Separate in what way? Pay?
No. I mean, in terms of how they can transition to going into detective steps.
Well, after they reach top police officer step, they will go to grade 3, step 4. Step 1, thank you, John. Step 1, detective.
Okay. Now, it's my understanding that the DAI opted not to negotiate an agreement on longevity pay. Is there money in the budget currently to pay a decision on longevity pay if there's arbitration or litigation that requires the county to pay?
No.
And what is the administration's, I guess, way to account for that, if that eventuality occurs?
We'll have to address that if and when that gets to the court system, and we have to pay it. So it's not something I've accounted in my, my budget for this year, next year, and the out years. So.
Okay. And can you describe how is termination pay calculated under this agreement? The contract makes reference to base pay. Does that include longevity? Does it include overtime?
It's not overtime. It's calculated the same way it was previously, so there's no change in that. It's 2 times earnings is what it is, so base earnings.
So what are the termination pay provisions?
Sorry?
What are the termination pay provisions in the contract?
It's saying currently it's identical to what it was. It's 2 times.
Okay, so there's been no change.
Has been no change.
Okay.
For news coming in, there will be some changes if they do come on board, so. It goes from
Okay.
175 and I think 15, if I'm not mistaken, so.
And with respect to give-back days or additional appearances, who determines how the days are going to be used or assigned?
I would think that would be, I think that's at the police commissioner.
That's
and
at the police
commands-
commissioner level?
The commands will be making those decisions, how they're going to allocate resources, so.
Is that annual, the give-back?
It's 5 days, 5 additional appearances
Per year?
annually. Per year, so.
Okay, all right. But it would be the department, not the employee, that makes a determination as to when they want to work those give-back days?
I would say yes.
Or what does the agreement say, or it doesn't?
I think it doesn't get into who, it's at the discretion of, I think, the police department of how they're going to allocate resources. I mean, just like everything else. It's like, it's precincts and everything else. They determine how it's going to be
Okay.
done.
And
So,
is the reconciliation of the days done, I guess, by the department?
yes, it will be done by them.
With respect to Section 4 of the agreement schedules, it indicates that any incumbent detective may elect to work, I guess, 5 additional appearance days, or five additional appearance-enhanced schedule days in exchange for what he or she will receive a schedule differential of 1.7%. What does that actually mean?
They're getting shift differential is what it means to me. They're getting, you know what I mean? So if they work a night tour or a different shift tour, that's what it would be. So.
But they're capped as far as,
Okay, thank you. Just to make clear on the termination pay before.
Right.
It's base plus holiday plus night diff plus longevity, just the way we were getting it.
Okay, it's all of them. Okay.
It's all of them,
Okay.
yes. And now with the enhanced schedule, we have to work 5 additional days. If you opt in and want to work 5 more days, it will be 1.7% of your base pay you'll get paid for.
So you have to work 5 if you want to work an additional 5 beyond that. So for a total of 10, you'd be entitled to the 1.7%.
Correct.
Okay.
If you don't want to do the additional days, you don't have to. In, let's just say in 2021, you opt in for the 5 additional. 2022 comes around, you don't have, you can opt out. But it's only a one-time thing.
Oh, so you either, okay.
It's a one-time yearly.
So it's not an, right, once a
Annual.
year you'd have to make a decision whether you're in or out.
And it will be like when we pick our vacation days in October, you'll have to either opt in or
Okay.
opt out.
Mr. Persich, do we have an approximate, I guess it would be difficult to determine who's opting in and who's opting out. Do we have an idea, an estimate?
It's
of how
built
much?
into the model that we built. I mean, we had a savings, but you know, I can't calculate who's going to be benefiting when they take the additional, or what the cost is going to be if somebody opts in for that. So it's built into the cost or the savings that
Okay.
we're going to get, so.
But how did you build it into this? How did you build that in?
Well, it's a complex model, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong.
But I guess the question becomes, how did you build it in if there's no idea what the cost would be?
My financial would tell me it's cost neutral because of the way it's structured, so.
Okay.
Because we're getting the additional appearances, so.
And just if you could recap, with respect to the healthcare contributions, how is this going to impact retirees?
Correct. Won't, has no impact.
None whatsoever?
None.
Okay.
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. There's a couple other legislators, but I just wanted to follow up with respect to the 1.7%. What does that mean? I mean, it's a shift differential. What is the 1.7? What does that mean?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but this is the way
Give me a layperson's understanding of what that is.
So if they work 5, they have to work 5. If they work the additional, if they choose to work an additional 5, they get 1.7% in additional pay to do that. So if they want to work 10, if they want to work 5 additional days on top of the 5 they're required to do, they're going to get they're getting paid an additional 1.7% to do that.
Okay. So they make an additional less than 2% by working those extra days? Is that?
That's
okay. I know Minority Leader Abrahams and Legislator Schaefer had questions. Well, you might as well jump in. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I know I asked questions a couple of weeks ago, and one of my questions was about, or we spoke about how many letters you had for police officers that were looking to become detectives. Can you give me an update on where we're at with that now? Because I thought it was like 13 or something along those lines.
I think we're just doing the financial part now, but go ahead.
Do you not want me to do that?
We received 24 requests, which were just approved, and the department just designated 24 detectives today, this morning, since the vote by the detective union. We've just promoted 24 detectives this morning. So prove that the incentive's working.
Okay. But how is that impacted with this contract that hasn't been passed yet? Is it just automatically going to apply to them, and they understand that, obviously?
Right.
Okay.
It was an incentive to get them. I mean, I guess the point is what the interpretation of the contract is to the membership or the new people coming on board is attracting exactly what we wanted to do with this.
Right.
Bringing new people into the detective union. So I think it worked, and I think the proof is what we're saying is the 24 additional bodies. So.
Okay. And now, do you have any number of detectives that are looking to retire this year, let's say?
I don't have an analysis. I mean, you know, we have term
Right, but
outs.
do you
I
know
mean,
how
it's
many?
Between, and I can go back upstairs, but it's between 10 and 20, I want to say, annually, somewhere in that range. I think that's what the number is.
So that's just a guesstimate.
It's going to vary, legislator.
Right.
I mean, because it depends upon age and years of service. You know what I mean? There's,
Right.
I hate to say it, but there's numbers that retarees shoot for to get out at, and that's, you know, we have to go back and do that modeling. We do it during the budget process, but I think that's what
May I
happens.
just suggest, I mean, you were handling the budgetary aspects
Sorry,
of this,
I didn't know
but I know Commissioner Ryder's here. I don't know if he wants to add anything.
So we never know the head count as the year progresses. People decide to leave or don't leave. We can estimate 5 or 10 people we lose a year. But with the new contract, if and when it is ratified, most of these members will stay because they want the benefit of that raise that's coming in this year. So we probably expect to lose less than what we normally lose per year. And we have 24 that we promoted today, some that we couldn't promote that also put letters in. We did not do that because of, one, probation, time on the job, and experience.
Okay, right, because I guess my next question would be then, why hadn't we promoted them before? It was just since they've heard of the new contract, you got 24 people interested?
That is correct, because of the incentive in the new contract. Correct.
Okay.
Minority Leader Abrahams.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Just a couple of questions, Andy, more tied to trying to get a better understanding of the savings. And I know, I don't know if you had a chance to review Maurice Chalmers' Independent Budget Review's report and how they have a total cost of the contract versus the total cost that you guys have. You guys are a little bit higher than they are, but ultimately the cost of the contract after the savings is roughly within $1 million of each other. If possible, just quantify for us the savings for 2020.
Well, the two biggest things we're getting back is the additional tours and the vacation cap. Those are the two big components of what we're getting back.
And what does that generate in terms of savings dollars to tax?
From my estimate, it's approximately $4.9 million is what we're getting.
So by voting for the agreement today, right off the bat, from the second we vote for it, there's going to be a savings of almost $5 million that's associated.
But that's offset by costs that are associated. You know, we're giving an incentive of $1,000 and $1,000 in there, plus a 2% bump up. So,
Is there a cost for 2020?
There is a cost for 2020. Yes, there is.
What's the cost for 2020?
Sorry, hold on one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
His numbers show there's no cost. His numbers show negative cost for 2020. OBR shows slight cost.
Okay. I think from when we were looking at your appendix, Andy, it looks like your numbers show that there's no cost, but OLBR shows that there is a slight cost.
That is correct, and we're showing it's a net savings to us in this year. So.
Okay. And for next year as well.
For next year as well, that's correct.
So
it's cost neutral. It's cost beneficial to me up until 22 when I have to start worrying about paying for this. So.
Okay. One more question, and then if the body can indulge me, I do have some questions for for Mr. Chalmers as well. But so I think Andy, as any taxpayers, they're looking at the legislature and they're considering whether or not they would lend their support towards this agreement. Taxes are always on people's minds, and I'm not going to hold you to a tough tax question that leads into the out years because you don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a question in regards to the immediate years as it pertains to 2021 when we have a budget that comes up this year. Do you anticipate that the administration will submit any budget that includes a tax increase for the 2021 year to pay for this contract?
Legislator, I don't think I can answer that at this point. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't have it in my multi-year plan to do any tax increases, so I don't want to give you that illusion that we will be submitting it, just to pay for this, because it has no cost to me in 2021. For this one specific section, it has no tax impact, is what I will say.
So there's no tax impact for 2021?
It's cost beneficial to me, so it wouldn't require me to raise any side of the revenue equation to cover it, so.
I understand.
So.
So the answer would be,
I
don't want to box you in because I know there's multiple other things that can trigger.
There's so many things when we do develop the budget, you know.
But I guess what I'm asking is if the playing field was leveled to today, understanding, not knowing what the problems could be for tomorrow, but if the playing field was leveled for today and you had an understanding that we were going to pay for this contract going into 2021, would the county have to raise taxes, understanding where we are today in January, not where we're going to be based off of the state budget or anything along those lines, what can happen there?
Based on the information that's before you right now, there would be no need to increase taxes for this.
Thank you. That's the most important issue I wanted to hear. I do have some questions for Mr. Chalmers, if possible. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm sorry. Do you want me to come back, Rich?
You want to?
Sure. So I'll come back.
So this kind of ties into what Menardo was saying. So then your 24 new hires, how is that going to impact your budget now?
They're already included in what I have. I have 360 that are budgeted in the 2020 budget, and it's kind of in the out years we have that same number, you know, with steps and everything else. But they're included in my current year's budget, and they're included in my multi-year plan assumptions when I in the out years.
So it's all the same?
It's all, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Reggie Whitten has a question for you as well, Andy.
Thank you. I know what you just mentioned about the 2 savings, but would you also anticipate a savings in overtime with these new hires?
I would expect, it's hard to say right away. I would say that we're going to have some savings in overtime because of the new additional hires and everything else. But, you know, I don't want to give you delusions that it's going to be, you know, overtime set. But with more appearances, there's always good things that happens with that. So, but I can't tell you if we're going to quantify additional overtime savings on top of it. But I would say, yes, there should be some, until we put it in place with all the new, it's a new structure and everything else. I don't want to start spewing out numbers of what we're going to be saving.
And I hope you don't feel that we're putting you in an awkward position. We just, in my mind, along with the minority leader, we never want to enter into something that would push our budget further than it's already stretched. However, there are a number of things. There are some savings that I see. And I hope over time it would make sense if we have the numbers. We're, short 60 detectives. So if we can get it even closer to that, I would have to anticipate just logically as a layperson or that there would be some savings in overtime. And the other thing is, you know, people worry about taxes, but they also worry about the quality of life and safety. And I think all 19 of us are here making a good faith effort to try to hire more detectives because we've heard for years that there has been a safety issue, a work quality issue, and that it's never just a simple answer. We're all trying to come up with all different factors, and I think we're all under the understanding that this is a financial risk that we're going to take. So hopefully we're leaving it up to you to figure it all out to make it as cost effective as possible. I'm kind of kidding on that line, but I really do think there are a lot of factors that might come to our favor, I hope. So.
This was a unique one because of the structure where the old contract was done, and this, you know, there was a problem that, I mean, for years we've been discussing in this body. So I think this addresses the needs of what had to be corrected in that contract, and it was a give and take on both sides is what I will say. That I think both parties agreed that this is the best thing for both parties at this point. So, you know, budget-wise, it looks good to me on paper. So I have to tell you that I think it's going to make sense going forward in the future years. So,
Legislator Gala.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. So, can anybody tell me how many detectives are on board today?
Approximately 300. Am I correct? Yes.
Is it 300 or 324?
As of right now, it's 324 approximately. Correct, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. So when will we be at 360, which is the authorized end strength?
I think the commissioner is going to go through and see what his needs are and then adjust it.
Well, the needs are 360. We know that because that's what you budgeted for and that's what you've asked for. So when will we be at the 360?
I can't speak to that.
Well, then who can?
I would defer to the police commissioner as far as what he needs as far as personnel. I mean,
So the number as of today is 327, I think, it was 303, I believe. So with 327, roughly. We want to get to 360. That is our goal. That's our budget number. Now that if and when the contract gets ratified and is finalized, Those who are on the fence about it, watching what the other contracts do, will then make their decisions whether they want to move on into the detective division. So there's no solid answer of when that number comes. I can't tell you what's in the mind of the officer.
Well, what do you think? Give me an estimate.
I would say it starts growing right away once everything is ratified and starts moving.
Because we got a problem now. We don't have a problem in the outlying years.
With
I don't need 360 in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. I need 360 detectives working today to combat the gang problem, the drug problem, the warrant problem. How many warrants are we backlogged?
I don't have that number off the top
Whatever,
of my
but
head.
you know what I mean.
There's a
It's a
whole bunch.
rhetorical question. It's a whole bunch.
Right.
So is the 6,000 and change incentive enough, or should it have been 10,000? Why didn't we give them 10,000 to get to 360 today?
Well,
I'm just, you know, I'm asking.
I think we wait and see what the numbers become. With these numbers, we will be able to open up the third and the sixth and the eighth squads. So we'll now be able to open those two squads up in the next couple of weeks after they get out of school.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Chalmers, you want to join us? You have questions, right? Yeah.
August Chalmers, Budget Review.
Helen Carlson, Office of Legislative Budget Review.
Hey, guys, how are you? Just a quick question, just for a point of reference. The commissioner noted that obviously there's been 24 additional detectives that have been promoted effective today. And I know when you were calculating your report, I'm guessing you didn't have that information.
No, we had based it on 15, which was the number then. It will probably change some numbers, but in the grand scheme of things, for the first couple of years, it wouldn't probably not make a big difference.
Okay. That's what I was driving at.
Yes.
So it wouldn't make a big difference in the first couple of years,
No.
but towards the end, do you plan on revising it? Or are you going to wait to see what the commissioner does throughout the year as points to Legislator Gaylor in terms of additional personnel being hired throughout the year? Or
We'll absolutely be monitoring it and making any adjustments and reporting back to the body as they hire, and we'll give you an updated number.
Okay. Okay. If you could include as part of the budget reports too, Maurice, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. My next question is references to page 3 on your report. And I talked a little bit about this with Mr. Persich in regards to the total cost of the contract. I'm sorry, Maurice. Am I throwing you off? Oh, no, I thought, no, I was saying I brought this up with Mr. Persich earlier. But what I was driving at was, I guess, the cost of the contracts. Per your report, you're about $20 million shy of where he was. I tried to follow your chart the best way I could. And my daughter had a math beat today, and she couldn't figure it out either. So, but if you can explain to me the difference, ultimately you come back to the same numbers. So, I think the end game has been met and satisfied. But can you explain to me? You guys have a lower cost, and what's the biggest variables in that?
Correct. So, for example, one of the indices that we use to calculate the salary extras, the overtime extra that's going to happen, is we use the average of the past 2-3 years as an inflator. They use 1 year, so that makes it a big difference. So just by using an average, let's say we use an average of 23% and they use 24% for the salary extras, then you get a bigger number.
Okay.
So we use an average of the past couple of years.
Gotcha. Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's all I have. Thank you, Presiding Officer. Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you.
All right, I have some follow-ups, I guess, for the administration. I don't know who wants to speak either. Thank you, Tatum. There had been a great emphasis on having all of the contracts expire at the same time and be negotiated at the same time, but largely because they have reopening clauses in them. And by breaking this off and having this settled now, does the administration have a concern in terms of this reopening clause?
At this time, we don't, since this is the framework for how we will proceed to negotiate with the other unions. So we don't have a concern that we will trigger the reopener clause.
Does that assume that the other unions are going to accept this similar deal?
It's just a framework. It's not going to be identical because they don't translate perfectly with other unions. So it's, the theory of more appearances, healthcare contributions, that's the framework, but the amounts and everything is specific to each union.
I mean, it is a concern for us, obviously, because this contract, if it's voted on and approved today, is settled, and then down the road, if there's another deal or an interest arbitration that gives benefits that are greater, then the Detectives Association can simply reopen this up and claim the greater benefits.
We would have liked to have all the unions together, but we can only work with who is at the table, and DAI was at the table.
Okay. Well, in terms of the framework, here's why I'm concerned that it might not be. I looked at this, and obviously, part of the emphasis here, and we all were on board with this, the emphasis was to create a framework which would help recruitment for the detectives. It's in a crisis situation. All of us have been encouraging this. And clearly, this contract is structured in such a way that it's focused on that recruitment, with police officers earning $6,249 while they remain in the police steps, with the additional different grades of detectives. It seemed to us that there's a trade-off here, that the detectives agreed to what is perhaps a lower wage increase and or health care contributions. So is this really going to be a framework for anybody else?
Well, as far as the salary schedule that detectives did not have and the problem that they did have, that was unique to the DAI. So we don't have to fix that in the other unions. So that's really unique to the DAI. The other items are universal: healthcare, shifts, how many days you work. So that is similar, whereas the first problem is not. And the other unions, the SOA, for instance, you test and there's a career path. CSCA, same thing. I'm just pulling out a title. Accountant 1, 2, 3, they have civil service built-in career paths, which detective did not.
Well, that was actually my point, is that I don't see the other unions having the same incentive because the recruitment is not the issue with them. So in other words, that there's
But
not
I don't
gonna-
have to fix that with them.
Exactly, which is
point.
why I think it might be difficult for you to be able to point to this contract as being a framework for them, because they're going to say, well, you don't have to do anything for us for recruitment, so why would we give back?
Wage increases.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to go too far with that, but
The
question.
incentive is wage increases.
Okay. The question is, with respect to the first grade detectives, it says no fewer than 30, but there is no maximum included. So the commissioner could could designate more than 30 first grade detectives?
He could.
If he so chooses. Can a first grade detective be demoted back into a lower grade?
Any designation could be, just like detective.
Okay. With respect to the 5 additional days worked, how is the time period measured? Is it measured from the date that this contract goes into effect, or is it measured on an annual basis?
Calendar year, right?
Calendar year?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think you covered my questions. Does anyone have any additional questions for any of the administration speakers? I think we're good. And anyone else want to add anything to the discussions? I mean, I know that we have.
I just want to thank you for supporting law enforcement, as you always do.
We always do, absolutely. And thank you for your presentation. President Wighouse, did you want to add anything, or are you good?
I just wanted to make it clear, as we talked about the recruitment of detectives from the police officer rank. Again, as I stated before, we had so many things to fix in this contract. The $2410 just being the $2,400 you got as when you first made detective. 15-month steps, 75 months to top pay. When you make detective now, you get $6,249. And we would love to get every police officer that wants to be a detective, we would love for them to start at 3rd grade step 1. Unfortunately, with everything else we had to do to not only attract these police officers, we have to retain our detectives because As you know, last year, we lost 7 or 8 wanting to go back to being a police officer. So when you're doing a contract, our top pay, usually you get your percentage raises on that top pay. And we lowered the 15-month steps to 12-month steps, and the top pay to 48 months from 75 months. So that stayed the same. But we also built another step, the second grade level, which that's not a percentage raise. That's another grade where now that's an additional $8,000 over your third grade detectives. Everybody makes second grade detective. Every detective at top pay today, once this contract is ratified, will be a second grade detective. Everybody in third grade steps and police officer steps will flow through the chart and their steps right through to second grade detective. You know, we also added that first grade step, which a minimum of 30 detectives will get. That will be based with a committee and ultimately with the commissioner's approval. And that's going to be on years of service and everything you do. But with everything we had to fix, we couldn't give these police officers a $50,000 raise just, you know, when they want to be detective. What happens is when I made detective, it was 5 years to top pay. Now it's, as a police officer, 5 years to top pay. Now a police officer has 9 steps. And they're seeing the same thing out in Suffolk now because Suffolk expanded their police officer steps to 12 steps. They're having the same issues as we're having about making detectives because you can't give these police officers $50,000 raises. But lowering the months to top pay, we chopped off a majority of the detectives that are in police officer steps right now. We chopped off about 6.5 years of them getting to a certain point where it would have been the old top pay. Some of these detectives now would have taken them 10 years to get to our old top pay, which they will be a couple $1,000s past that in 3.5 years, and then they will continue another almost $30,000 to the new top pay. So I understand the concerns of the, you know, trying to attract these police officers, but financially, everything that was in this contract, it was spread across the board. So I don't want to run on. I just want to try to clarify it a little bit.
Let me just say this. You, Chris, your entire organization has been tireless in the last several years about this issue of understaffing. And I think your advocacy and your work is the result of why we're here today. And I want to congratulate you because apparently what it is that you have negotiated has led to 24 new members, new detectives being designated today. So it's been a concern of all of us that we have sufficient detectives, and especially with respect to the gang unit and drugs and things of that nature. So, you know, again, I want to thank you, and I think you have been tireless with all of us, individually, collectively, in this issue. So
it still means I will still meet with you too. When we
and look, it's good. And look, it's good for your members, but also it's extremely important for the residents of this county because public safety is really, truly at risk. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Legislator Ford.
I too, you know, we all had expressed the concern over the shortage of the detectives and the fact that our police officers were not moving up into the ranks. So I have to say thank you very much because by your negotiations along with yourself and your team, you know, you negotiated a good and fair contract for your members, and that was evidenced by their ratification of it. And I also want to thank you, too, that you kept in mind our taxpayers as well. So thank you once again. I think that this is a good day for Nassau County, and especially for those men and women who serve us so well. Thanks.
Thank you. Legislator Rhodes, and then Legislator Gaylord.
He's deferring over to me. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Is he yielding his time, too? No?
Does he ever? He is in this instance. I was going to say, does he ever?
Yeah, right.
Does he ever yield his time? No,
Wait, he only gets the 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, he gets the 5 minutes. Right. No. So anyway, John, absolutely great job, great effort on behalf of your entire team to get us here today. But listening to what you had presented and the commissioner, 24 new hires today. Is there some mechanism to prevent them when the PBA negotiates their contract in a month from now or 6 months or a year from those 24 seeing a better deal and jumping back? Is there a minimum requirement or stay in detectives before they are able to jump back? Or could potentially somebody jump from contract to contract for the better deal as they get closer to retirement, especially because the outlying years look pretty sweet here.
Right. Potentially, could that happen? I guess it could, but if one of the other unions do get a better deal, then we can sit down and reopen. So,
thus the reopener. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you, John. Great job.
Thank you.
Legislator Rhodes and Legislator Birnbaum. Legislator Birnbaum.
Okay, I just want to thank you for all that you've gone through and gotten to this point. And it's great that 24 new hires, new detectives are coming on as of today. So, as you know, the 6th precinct reopened in October, and
I heard that.
Yeah, we're very concerned though about the detectives that
Yes.
were promised. So, will that mean that they'll be starting there?
I would assume the commissioner is thinking along those lines.
After 3 weeks, the doors will be open in the 6th squad.
Terrific.
They finish school. They're in school now.
Okay. Good answer. Thank you.
And also, we feel with the new detectives being designated today, there's 24. And there's a lot of, we had our informational meetings about the contract, and sometimes it's like the telephone game, and things get misconstrued along the way. So there were a lot of false rumors out there, and we've had, over the last several weeks, police officers calling the office and calling our cell phones. We feel also now with these 24 new detectives today, they're going to come in, and now they're going to tell their police officer friends that they worked with the truth, and we're hoping that just spirals into more letters.
Legislator Walker.
And I know that Commissioner Ryder had said it before, but that will also include the 8th precinct, right? The detectives over there. And I want to thank you, too, for all your hard work and dedication. And I know that today's a wonderful day for you to know that 24 additional detectives are on board and will go through their training. And with a 3-week period, I guess it's 3-week training period, when that 3 weeks are up, that you have those detectives on board with you. And I do hope that that's an incentive for others to come on board, and I hope we reach that 60 number as quickly as we possibly can. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for your continued support. I appreciate everything, meeting with me and listening to me and being behind us. So thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, it's time for the item. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. Okay, we're going to put this legislative meeting in recess at this time. We're going to now jump into the emergency item, emergency calendar. Mr. Clerk, could you please read the roll, Mike?
Emergency Resolution Number 1, 2020, an emergency resolution declaring an emergency for immediate action upon a local law to amend Title 79A of the Miscellaneous Law of Nassau County to provide relief from fees charged by various departments of county government to the victims of Superstorm Sandy.
Okay, thank you. To establish the emergency, Legislator Muley makes a motion. Legislator Rhodes seconds it. All in favor of the item signify by saying aye. The emergency signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the emergency carries. The item is 3520, and I'm going to call it right now. It's proposed local law to amend Title 79A of the Miscellaneous Laws of Nassau County to provide relief from fees charged by various departments of county government to the victims of Superstorm Sandy. A motion by Legislator Ford, seconded by Legislator Rhodes. This before us. What this does is it provides for refunds or waivers with respect to fees charged to individuals by county government for people who've had to do various things as a result of damages from Superstorm Sandy, sewer connections, pre-demolition, indexing at the county clerk's office. The fees are waived if they show good cause, which is demonstrated by a notarized document addressed to the department head stating that the permit or service is necessary due to the effects of Superstorm Sandy. So, is there any debate or discussion? Legislator Ford.
Thank you that's okay.
And then Legislator Rhodes.
No, Rhodes and then Millay, and I'll go back.
Okay, Legislator Rhodes, Legislator Millay, and then Legislator Ford.
Yeah, just obviously Nassau County has extended its fee waivers for Superstorm Sandy victims for necessary repairs, in addition for tax map verification fees, recording fees, and any fees related to loan satisfactions for SBA loans and any other loans that they may have incurred as a result of Superstorm Sandy. Our intention was to extend these fees indefinitely. I don't think anybody really anticipated the fact that here we are 8 years after Superstorm Sandy, and unfortunately people are still dealing with issues related to Superstorm Sandy. While it may seem as though perhaps some of our colleagues up in Albany, when you look at some of the deadlines that they've been unwilling to extend, have forgotten the plight of those of us who live on the South Shore, we can assure the residents of Nassau County's South Shore that we have not. We want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make it easier for them to become whole and for them to finally put this sad chapter in our history behind them. So the intention with this legislation is to extend those fee waivers indefinitely. It's our understanding that with respect to many of the SBA loans, most of them had to be repaid in a period of 10 years. So we'll be looking hopefully at the end of that process near the end of 2022. But it's also our intention, because the fee waiver expired at the end of 2019, for the period of January 1st through the effective date of this legislation, once it's signed by the county executive. Our intention is that that any funds that have been paid would be refunded to those homeowners if they happen to fall within that window. So I just wanted to make sure that was stated for the record, as it's part of our intent in introducing this legislation, was that there be a retroactive application to cover everyone, so that there's a continuous period of fee waiver. But I thank my colleagues for voting for the emergency. For these families, it is still an emergency. And I would appreciate your support for the legislation as a whole.
Legislator Muley.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Officer. It's unfortunate that we're still talking about this, but as someone who lives in a community that was affected by Superstorm Sandy, I can assure people who do not that there are still many, many families who have not been made whole and are not able to live in their homes. Going up and down my block, just my block, there are many homes that are still up in the air, and we've seen no work being done on them for many, many months, and so I know that these people are not able to live at home. That being said, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the legislation. This is legislation that we've had in place, but it expired at the end of 2019, and we're just making sure that it continues from this point forward. And also, the reason why it's being extended indefinitely is because we don't know when the last of the claims will happen, but that this is something that will eventually, there will be no longer have any claims. Is that correct?
I think that's perfectly accurate, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And just to, if you don't mind, Presiding Officer, just to clarify, it's not from this point forward. We want to make sure that there's coverage from January 1st, 2020, indefinitely until we're done with the last of the claims.
I too want to say, echo my support for this. too many of our homeowners had to dig into their own pockets, to be able to raise their homes and fortify them against future storms or based on whatever their insurance requirements are. And even though we put this indefinitely, this program will be ending like 2022, 2023, and all claims have to be put in by then and all work, and I think almost everything has to be paid off by then. But we're just doing it indefinitely, just in case if there's one or two that may fall through the crack, and we can still cover them. But more than likely, this program will be finished in 2023. Thanks.
Any other debate or discussion among the legislators? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. Again, I'm putting the full legislature in recess. Thanks. Yeah, you can leave. We're done.